All right, guys. Our next guest is making his return to Submission Radio. He is an absolute legend in the sport of mixed martial arts. He is a former UFC heavyweight champion, an icon in the sport, all-around funny and entertaining guy, and he's kind of like the $1 Million Man because they recently rebuilt him. He is none other than Bas Rutten. Bas, welcome back to Submission Radio. How are you?
I'm doing great. My neck, it's rebuilt, and now I trained twice already in the ocean. I swim in the ocean in the morning.
You did, so really?
I'm back. Yeah. I do these crazy exercises underwater, for like 30, 40 minutes, and it's getting cold now, but it's a lot of fun.
What sort of exercises are you doing underwater?
All crazy exercises. It's all for rehab. I do. You can do biceps, triceps, you can do shoulders, you can do chest, you can do back, you can do pretty much anything underwater. I have resistance tools that I use. I have big fins, so they keep me up the whole time. I try to keep myself out of the water, so it's harder on the legs. And then I just work everything out. This morning I had a scare though, because they were talking about a shark, in California.
Yeah.
And I'm swimming out, and I'm further out. I turn around, and while I'm turning around, there's like 10 feet away from me, like 3 meters. This fin sticks out, huge fin.
Whoa.
And I go, shit, but I didn't see it come up, so it went down. And now I think, oh God, the shark is going to go in attack, right? So I start swimming backwards, like really fast. But then I saw him popping up again. It was a dolphin. But because I didn't see him come up and go down, I only saw when I flipped around, there was the fin right in front of me, and it was huge. I mean, it had to be a really big one. But man, that was, for a moment, my heart was, okay, here we go.
Holy crap. Were you preparing a liver punch?
You know what I do is I swim backwards and keep my head underwater. So I'm going underwater and swim very hard backwards, so I can see at least if it comes at me. And they tell you have to hit it in the nose. So it's either I'm going to kick it really hard because I can see it coming when I'm going back, or I'm going to hit it in the nose. I mean, if I even can do it. I mean, it's better to try, I guess.
Yeah.
than to just get a bite. It freaks you out. It was for a moment there.
They needed a man like you in the movie Jaws, Bas. I think more people would have survived. Now, for the people listening at home in Australia and around the world who don't really know your history of injuries, tell us what was going on with your body. Why did you need the surgery, and what kind of injuries and issues did you have before the surgery that you corrected with it?
This is my third neck surgery, and what happened was I did something really stupid in a TV show. A friend of mine was the lead actor in a TV show, was Lights Out on FX. I was here, a big show, it's a boxing show, he's a heavyweight boxer. And anyway, he had an underground fight, and he asked if I wanted to do it against him, like in this underground fighting thing. And he was a boxer, but I was an MMA guy, so it was going to be no rules. But the script said that he was going to beat me up. And he said, listen, here's freaking Bas Rutten. I can't simply beat him up, we got to come up with something. I said, don't worry about it. What about this? I jump on your neck, I forget to put the hooks in, I slide off, and then I spike myself, and that will make me dizzy, and then you hit me in the throat or something, and then you just knock me out. Wow. And he goes, you sure you want to do this? I said, sure, yeah, it's okay. I said, but I'm just going to do it twice. I said, because needless to say, it's not a really smart thing to do, land on the top of your head, But that was it. I realized like a week later I couldn't lift my carry-on luggage. And I go, oh my God, so I tried my other hand and I could lift it with my other hand. I go, okay, that's a good thing, at least it's not my whole body. But then my arm, man, it went like, it starts shrinking, atrophy. And then I couldn't lift milk out of the fridge. I mean, it started getting crazy. So I went in for a surgery, or for an X-ray, MRI. And that the holes around the holes they were catching my nerves. So my nerves didn't work. It didn't send any signals out to the muscles. And then you get a sim when somebody breaks his back. They can't walk anymore. Well, it's the same deal here. Only mine wasn't broken. They were just working very, very low because they were caught.
Yeah.
So they went in from the back and they opened the holes around the nerves and they put me back. And that was good for about half a year. I didn't get much stronger. Like a little bit stronger, but I mean, then it went bad again. So I go, oh my God, I think it's better for me to do a fusion. So I did a front, and they fused 3 discs together, and that started helping. But then also, nothing really started. It didn't go really better. I started with 5 pounds and I ended with 15 pounds doing that like 8 times. So, and my left hand, I do like 50 pounds, 30 repetitions. So it's like really, really annoying, if you don't get strong. And this is going on for like 4 years. So now I went to a doctor, and he's a really good doctor here that is very close to me. One of the other doctors, there's only 1% of them is another doctor. And he said, you know what, let's go in from the front, from the back. We'll fuse everything from the back, and then we turn you on your belly, or the other way around, I don't know. And then we go in from the front, and we're going to do the whole same thing there as well. And that's what they did. They cleaned everything up, and then they did another disc, so it's a 4-disc fusion now. They have a front fusion, and then in the back have a fusion as well. So now it cannot get smaller anymore because everything is fused. It's impossible to close that hole again, or a bone has to start growing like it did in the past. So hopefully that's not going to happen.
Wow, so 3 surgeries. You're like the $1 trillion man, and you sound well, so it's good that it, went well. We saw on your Facebook page that you were nice enough to let everybody know exactly what was going on. I'm just wondering, a guy like yourself who's, been through so many things like fights, do you ever get scared at all before a surgery like this?
It's I'm really into the, if it's your time, it's your time. What I did is I knew 3 weeks ahead I was going to have the surgery. I was already training in the, in the ocean every day, and I just stepped it up, and I started actually adding striking with it, so my stamina will get more. But then I realized I was actually in a really good shape. I blew through my workouts, the audio workouts that I had. And I go, wow, this is crazy. I didn't know that swimming gave you so much stamina. It was great for my muscles, but also endurance. I had a great endurance. So I went in healthy. Clean, live clean, watching out what you eat, all that kind of stuff. So, no, I wasn't that afraid of it. If it happens, it happens. There's nothing you can do about it.
Now, Bas, it's obviously great news that you're going through the rehab, and martial arts and coaching is such a part of your life. Just wondering, now that you've had the surgery, are you looking to get back to training a lot more? Obviously, there's a lot of cool training techniques and things that you've actually created yourself. What kind of training schedule are you looking to have once the rehab is complete and hopefully everything's back to normal?
I don't know yet. I think I'm going to stay with 5 days a week I swim. I go early to the ocean and I do that. And then 3 days a week, it's probably going to be stamina in the afternoon, Thai boxing, kickboxing, the audio workouts that I have, the Bas Rutten MMA workout. I got new ones now, and they're really crazy. So I really like to work out. I put ankle weights on, 10-pound ankle weights, do only knees, so you train your core really hard as well. And maybe 2 times a week I'll do some weights with a crazy guy we have in our gym. His name's Cameron, and he's this guy who works, with really weird stuff. Lets you do crazy kettlebell exercises for balance and everything, and it's all core and it's all body, and it feels really good. So hopefully I can work out like 8 times a week or 10 times a week, But these are short workouts. Like in the morning I work out 40 minutes max, It's a hard workout, but it's a short workout. In the afternoon, if I do weights, well, that would be, what is that? That would be an hour. And if I do the kickboxing, well, I have now 10 rounds of 5 minutes, which, no. This is what this is. The 10 rounds are 3 minutes. So it's 40 minutes plus a 10, 50 minutes. So it's not that bad. But I'm really looking forward to that.
Those are standard workouts. Like, I don't know too many people that work out for longer than an hour, but if you're doing that 8 times a week, that's pretty good. Another thing I wanted to ask you about, Bas, we've been hearing a lot about this O2 trainer. We've been seeing people tweeting about it and mentioning it. What exactly is the O2 trainer? What does it do?
It's strengthening your lungs and your whole respiratory system. Actually, your inspiratory system. So your breathing, your inhale muscles. To breathe. I came up with the idea when I was a kid. I was a severe asthma patient. And I realized that after an asthma attack of a week, so I was a week in bed, not able to eat, I couldn't get out of bed. I have to do everything in bed because I couldn't breathe. It was like really bad, so I couldn't even walk. And every time when I would resume my track and field, I would break my running times. And it blew me away every time I was after an asthma attack. And then, so I started thinking, why can't that be? Is it the drugs they gave me, the cortisones, or no, that cannot be it because it would still be in my system. So then I realized when I saw a drawing of a pair of lungs at the doctor's office, I realized that when you have a lung infection, it's in the lung pipe. It's not in the lungs. isn't the long pipe. The big long pipe is affected. So it's really hard for your lungs and your inspiratory system to pull the air through that little tiny hole. And that was it. That gave me the light bulb went on. I go, oh, of course. For a week, I've been sucking air in through this little tiny hole. And then when the infection is gone, it's much easier for my lungs to breathe. And that's why I'm better after asthma. So why don't I come up with something that controls my air intake? And that's what I did. I started working on it. I had coins with holes in them. I put them in my mouth, in front of my teeth. Like, I tried everything, but needless to say, it was very dangerous. And it's always been in my head. And 4 years ago, I just, all my friends knew about it, and they said, man, you got to start making the thing. So I started making it. And now the results are insane. I mean, they even have an inspiratory, but because all the other lung training devices, they control the air in. They have air with resistance in and air with resistance out. And the air with resistance out, I don't believe in, because I believe in totally emptying your lungs so you can use much more of your whole inhaling system, so to say, your inspiratory system. So I left that out, and that's why I have the patent on this thing. And in England, they have the device now. It's a machine. Well, it's a tiny machine, but you can't work out with it. It's much bigger. It's way more expensive, and it's also concentrates only on the inhaling muscles. And that thing is now covered by insurance for asthma patients. So now suddenly all the doors are open. And listen, I haven't used my inhaler for like a year and 2 months now. Absolutely nothing, And I used to use my inhaler even when I was competing at the highest level, in the dressing room. My lungs would close, we have over them up, then I have to spray them open, and then I can go. Overall, I would sneeze really hard 3 times, my lungs would close. Every asthma patient has that, and then you have to open them up. Now I don't even have an inhaler with me anymore. I can jump in the ocean, and then I don't need an inhaler. Normally, I have to really open my lungs before I would do that, but it's gone. It's crazy, and all the reviews on the website are saying the same thing with other people. I cannot medically claim it yet. But once money comes in and I can start do testing, then I'm going to medically claim it. I almost guarantee that.
That's awesome.
Great, Bas. Guys, it sounds like an amazing Christmas present. I know there's a lot of sports down here that could really benefit from stuff like that, like NRL and AFL, which is our football over here, and a lot of MMA and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys. So, Christmas is coming up. Make sure you have a look at this O2 training. Me and Caps have heard some amazing things, and it's definitely something you guys should gift to your club, to some of the people around here. I'm sure it ships internationally. Isn't that right, Bas?
That's it. Exactly. It's o2trainer.com. Just put .com. Well, otherwise, just Google it. People sometimes go, "What's the website?" I say, "Just Google."
Yeah.
O2 Trainer. Boom. There it is.
Google is the answer to everything. Now, let's get into it. Let's talk about World Series of Fighting. Rousimar Palhares, he get another very dominant finish via leg lock, this time against Jon Fitch. Now, before we talk about your thoughts, on the champ, give us your thoughts on the finish. A lot of people are saying he held onto the leg lock too long. Personally, me and Casper watched it. We think it was pretty kosher. We think it was pretty fine. What did you think? Did you think that it was another case of Rousimar holding onto a leg lock for too long, or do you think it was pretty down the line this time?
Yeah, it was good. I would have noticed that. I didn't rewatch it, but I would have noticed it. And you have to also put other things in play here. Like Fitch, he had a heel hook before, and he was really cranking the heels. Fitch didn't tap. And then when he rolled into the knee bar, he started also. And I think, at that moment when he doesn't tap on a heel hook that's already there, you automatically assume that your opponent has a higher pain tolerance. So maybe it was there, but I really don't believe so. I think they really should let this one pass. I think if he wouldn't have had all these things in the past, those 2 times, then nobody would have said anything. It's just because before it happened, and now everybody's looking at it, and if it's even a second too long, they go crucify him. So no, I think it was okay.
Now, since dropping down to welterweight and obviously coming over to World Series of Fighting, Rousimar Palhares, to say he was dominating is an understatement. What are your thoughts on the welterweight champ, and do you think there's anybody that can beat him at the moment?
I think Fitch had a great game plan. He looked really good in his striking. He connected a few times already, and is a good wrestler. And that's what I said in the opening of the show. I go, he needs to use his wrestling to keep this fight standing. He cannot go to the ground. Even when you're on top, the guy is dangerous with leg locks. It doesn't really matter if you're in mount. You will find a way half guard. Boom, there's a leg lock again. So he's constantly attacking. Clinching, don't clinch with the guy. He will fall. He will pull you in the guard. and then he goes for leg locks again. So just stay away. But that he got taken down, and once it went to the ground, and it was early in the fight, nobody's sweating yet. It's harder to escape. It's hard. How do I say this? It is not that hard to stop leg locks if you know what you're doing. It really is not. You really have to just focus on opening your hips the whole time. Don't let them lock you up your hips. It's like with an armbar, I always say. If they armbar you, and they need to catch the head in order to pull it up, pretty much. If it's a good one, then a good guy can probably go into something else, and you see something like with Misha Tate and Ronda Rousey, you can she pulled it off at the end, even without catching the head, I believe it was. But if you look at Alan Belcher, for instance, when he fought Rousimar Palhares, that's what he did. Every time he just kept the feet off the hips. Every time, peel them off. And he was defending those leg locks with ease. Just watch that fight and see how easy he stays away from the leg locks. And that's the trick. You got to stay calm. Don't freak out. There's certain ways you have to hold your toes. If I'm sitting right in front of him and he wants to put it, let's say, on my left leg, a heel hook, then what I should do is stretch my left leg and point my toes to the left. This way, I'm not going to give my heel to him. Those little things, those little tricks that you can do while he's working on it. You peel the legs off again from your hips, and then you get out. So I tell everybody, I say, watch the fight with Alan Belcher. See how, with ease, pretty much, he stops those leg locks. And that's what people need to do. They really need to go for that. But don't watch out, because, still Palhares, he's good everywhere. So you think, now I'm free and I'm going to get armbarred or rear naked choke. So he's a really strong guy, really good on the ground. Just watch out and defend the correct way.
And in terms of Jon Fitch, he hasn't been nearly as dominant as when he was in the UFC. That when he was there, he was for a long time considered the number 2 behind George St. Pierre. And recently he's been finished, which didn't used to happen. He got finished by Berkman and now Palhares. Do you think that Fitch is slowing down in his career, or do you think it's just the competition he was facing?
Everybody has his ups and downs, I think. I think what happened with Fitch, though, is that he got better in his striking. When he fought Dennis Hallman, I thought his striking looked really good until he started taking him to the ground. And later I asked him, I said, why would you take him to the ground? He said, look at my eye. And I looked at his eye. His eye was all swollen up. He got stabbed in the eye with a finger. He said, I saw 3 of these guys. That's why I took it down. I said, his striking looked great. So now he really focused on his striking. He looked also a little bigger to me. I think he's been hitting the weights also. But he looked really sharp in his striking, and maybe he got comfortable. Maybe he connected, because he did connect a few times with good shots. And, once you get comfortable against a guy that you shouldn't be comfortable against, maybe that set him up to be taken down. It's just bad luck. I hope he sticks with it, because now with the striking that he has, I truly believe he can do much better than he did against Palhares.
A lot of Australian fans, MMA fans, and New Zealand MMA fans, they haven't had much of a chance to watch World Series of Fighting, unfortunately. But, it is a very, very cool company. There's a lot of really great fighters. There's a lot of really great fights. And it looks like the company's really evolved since its inception. You've been a pretty big part of the company, Bas. You've been the voice of it. Tell us, what kind of evolution have you seen in World Series of Fighting? And, where do you see the company going? Where do you sort of see them slotting in with all the other companies at the moment?
I think they're doing really well. I mean, we have 16 shows already in 2 years' time. So I think the company is great on its way. We got some great signings. This year, we're going to go international. Even I heard Australia was on the map too, New Zealand. Today, we want to go to Japan. You see, with the NBCSN network behind them, I think that's a great thing. You can see it on regular TV as well, on a good channel. And some fights, like big fights, they're going to have on NBC, on just a major network, so that is really good as well. So I just think that they just keep on rolling and keep getting better. And if you see guys like Moraes, coming in and just demolishing people, and then, Shmelino Rama, my God, his name, they always have a problem with that. That he's a great fighter. You look at that guy and you go like, "Whoa, that's real." When you see him, he doesn't look as super fast, but man, he's light on his feet. He's got great striking power. Now all these guys, everybody is Aguilar He's doing great.
Mm.
I mean, I think this guy's going to be hard to beat. Justin Gaethje, I mean, he put himself on the map. Everybody knows this guy now. I mean, he's all over the place, and every fight you see him in, it's an exciting fight.
Now, there's a few other things that we wanted to get your opinion on, Bas. Obviously, one of the biggest things in the world of MMA now is CM Punk signing with the UFC. We're just curious, what are your thoughts on this, and do you think it's a good thing?
Yeah, I truly believe it's a great thing. He comes in with absolutely nothing. He's not. I mean, he's not saying, "Oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that." He says, "Listen, I'm 36 years old. I always would love to do this. My time card is going to punch out, at a certain age, and I cannot do it anymore. Why not go to the UFC and see if I actually can do it now?" And Dana is going to be good. He's not going to right away feed him like the champion or something. Give him a normal fight and see what he can do. And this guy, with all this dedication, because people can talk about WWE what they want, I mean, these guys work. They work so hard. They do 220 shows a year, if not more, and that's just shows. That's not even without the traveling. So these guys are on the road the whole time. They have to do these shows. He already knows how to deal with the audience. That the other guy that comes in mind to me, and don't hold me to it, I'm not going to say he's a Sakuraba, but Sakuraba also is a pro wrestler who already had a great ground game. But I think once you're used to that audience, and to do things under pressure, it's a great way to come in. And if he's already has a great ground game, and he also said, listen, I'm still a white belt. I didn't even have a blue belt because I'm so inconsistent with my training, because he trains in Florida, I believe, with Henry Gracie. And he says, I'm almost never there, but he trains also where he lives with all his friends, and he rolls a lot. So his ground game, I truly believe he has a solid ground game. The mindset is there. Once a guy like that goes to train with all the pressure that he has, that will only help him in training. And then the pressure in fighting, I don't know if that's going to get to him, because he's used to performing under pressure. It's like stand-up comedians. Most of the time, these guys are great actors as well, because they're used to perform under pressure with a live audience. It's got to be the most nerve-wracking thing there is. So then when you do it in a movie, that's kind of easy. And I think he's going to have that too. Only the striking, that's what everybody, of course, now is thinking about. How is his striking, and can he stand with somebody? Are they going to give him a great wrestler who's also a striker? That would be a problem, maybe. Or they say, no, let's just get an even guy, also a guy who's great on the ground, and see what happens. I see it as a great thing, great for mixed martial arts, because you have more eyeballs coming from WWE fans. They're going to tune in now. They want to see it as well. So what's not to like?
Yeah. Now, Bas, me and Castle, we kind of like this whole CM Punk thing, because he's one of these guys that sort of says, look, I'm going to set my mind to something and I want to achieve it. And that's really admirable. I think that's a really admirable quality. But, from your professional experience as a trainer, because, you're one of the best, and we definitely think that on this show, can a guy like CM Punk, like you mentioned, with a limited ability, can a guy like CM Punk, in a number, let's say, of like 8 months, is that a possibility from a trainer's standpoint? And also, following on from that question, we remember when Brock Lesnar was fighting, you had a lot of advice for him, especially when it came to striking. As somebody who's had a ton of experience coaching, what's one piece of advice that you'd give CM Punk right now as he picks up his skills? So it's a bit of a two-part question.
It depends on everybody. With me, I didn't get the ground game in the beginning, and then a really stupid thing made me suddenly understand the ground game. Like when they told me, oh, if I block your right leg and your right arm, I can push you to that side because you cannot base out. It was literally something stupid like that. And I was literally looking at the guy and I go, oh my God, I never saw that. And I think that since then, and that is a long time ago, I maybe tapped 3 times in the rest of my life. I never lost a fight anymore. It like everything came together from that stupid little thing. So sometimes that happens with striking as well, And he should go just basic striking, cross hook, cross, inside, outside, low kicks, maybe after punching, not just kicking. Always set it up, I say, and the clinch. Make sure you have a great clinch. And once you start fighting like that, and you know really well how to give a cross hook the correct way and give it hard and solid, and you aim for the shots, then a cross liver shot is not that big of a stretch, or a right straight to the body and a left to the head. It's all the same movement. You're only changing the height of that. So from a simple cross hook cross or a cross hook, you can make 8 combinations, And if you do that and keep it basic, it's not going to be taken down probably because it's basic stuff. After your short combination that you might have to defend a takedown. So that's possible. It's possible. The trick is though to do it a lot, to go spar with good guys, and I really hope he finds a great camp. I already said, if you want to jump in my classes sometime, to give him the basic stuff and to see, and work on that. Please be my guest because I would love to do a thing like that, same as we did with Kimbo Slice in the beginning also, But really, if I have to give him some advice, I say go to Holland. Forget America right now. Go to Holland. Go to a gym like a Meng Ho gym. Really great strikers there, and start training with those guys. These guys are so good that they won't beat you up in training because if you have a guy a little bit less technical, they will hit you by accident, they'll knock you out by accident, they hurt you by accident. Guys like that in Holland, it's what they do. It's one of the main sports in Holland, kickboxing, Thai boxing. So if you go there and then just every day you train on your striking, and don't worry, they have great grapplers there as well. And then, but 3 times a week or 4 times a week you grapple, and then 8 times a week you do solely striking. That's what I would suggest for him, and then do it for 4 months in a row or something. Then you're going to come back and then you make big steps. But going to a gym and say, oh, yeah, I had some guys who were world champion already. I say, oh, yeah, I want you to teach me some striking. Just hold up the focus mitt for me. Mm-hmm. I said, well, you can pay somebody for that. I'm not going to do that. That's the dumbest thing which you can tell me. You don't know how to strike. I'd rather teach you how to strike. If you hit the focus mitt with no technique, what is that going to do in a fight? They think they're there, and they think if I do it 3 times a week, no, double it up. It's what I did with ground fighting. I lost my last fight by ground fighting, and then I said, okay, 2-3 times a day, 7 days a week, we're going to do ground now, and it changed my life. Like I said, I never lost anymore, but I just flipped it. You have to flip it. If he's already have a solid ground game, start striking, and do it a lot.
Absolutely. And I feel like after the way you sold Holland just now, Bas, everyone's going to go out there and buy plane tickets to Holland or at least Amsterdam.
Well, look at Heath Herring. Heath Herring was a wrestler. He was fighting in Colorado at the Bas Rutten Invitational. He won his fight. He was a wrestler, but he looked really horrible on his feet. And he told me, he said, well, what would you do if you were in my shoes? I said, you want to have a career? Yeah. I said, move to Holland. Go to Holland and train there with the best strikers on the planet. And he took my advice to the heart. He went to Holland. He lived there for a year and a half. And then his whole reign in Pride came, Pride Fighting Championship.
Yeah.
Started knocking people out. I mean, it changed his life. He even speaks Dutch. This guy speaks such great Dutch.
Heath Herring.
It's insane. Yeah. I was like, whoa, there's almost no accent. It's the most amazing thing because Dutch is a hard language to learn. And but he just did it, and it changed him completely as a fighter.
I'd love to see CM Punk come back and cut a promo, but he cuts a promo like in Dutch. That'll be the funniest thing ever. I was gonna say,
that will be something.
Speaking of Holland, we want to get your professional opinion. Your fellow Dutchman Alistair Overeem, who we've spoken about many times on the show before. He went up against another Dutchman, obviously in Stefan Struve. Stefan was coming back from a bit of a layoff. Now Overeem got back to his winning ways. In your opinion as an analyst, do you think that Overeem's made enough changes in his style to continue his success and possibly fight for the belt soon?
I don't know. To tell you the truth, I didn't see the last fight, and it is because I've been gone for the last 12 days. I've been traveling. I was in Florida. I came one day home. I had to shoot 2 TV shows. The next day to Sacramento. The next day to New York. And I just came back from New York. I'm getting all my stuff now together, and I thank God I have Fight Pass for UFC, so I can probably watch it on that. But so then I can see how the fight went. You have to also understand that Struve went in. I don't think he went in 100% confident just because of what he had in the past. He had the heart problem, and then the last fight, in the dressing room, suddenly he started hyperventilating and something was wrong there. And I think that also creeps in a fighter's mind. Maybe he was really insecure going in as well. And but still, Overeem looked better in the fight before that also. Doesn't focus, thank God, anymore on all the power strikes. He needs to go back to his roots, what they taught him in Holland, I always say. just single shots. But because everything he throws is hard, he's got so much power. If he throws the left hand, keep the right hand up. If he throws the right hand, keep the left hand up. As soon as he starts making combinations, he sets himself open, and that's when he gets hit. That's how he got knocked out a few times now. You know, and when a guy like that, with striking skills like that, comes to America, and I'm not saying anything bad about the American striking skills, but there's not many heavyweights who are really good at striking. You know, so if he comes here and he trains with guys who are below him, you know, I don't think you'll learn a lot from it. Yeah, then you can start giving combinations because everybody's just scared of you. Like in Holland, he needed to be scared as well because these guys, you make a mistake, they're going to knock you down. You know, and these guys go pretty hard. Once they start hard, well, then everybody goes hard. You know, so yeah, listen, he's got all the qualities to do it. It's just his mind. Can he keep it together? You know, can he keep doing it without PEDs? You know, because that pretty much, you know, that really launched his career also. And then suddenly with being without it, I think it's a big change for him. But he looked much better in his last two fights. Yeah.
Now, Bas, I just want to change gears for a second and change topics for a moment. You know, some other big news that's come out is obviously a big UFC lawsuit that some ex-fighters, you know, have put in place. You know, you're someone who's fought all over the world. I'm just, you know, wondering, what's your opinion on that? And also, you know, paying MMA, it's evolved so much, obviously, you know, since you fought. Do you think MMA fighters are getting paid enough? And do you think these guys have any kind of point, these guys that are doing this lawsuit against the UFC?
Well, you know, it's hard. I don't know the depths of this whole lawsuit, and I didn't go into it yet, and I have to go into it because it's because of Inside MMA. I'm we're probably going to talk about it for the new show in the new year. But you know, everybody always wants more money. You know, the top guys. They get well paid. If they have a good manager, they get a cut of the pay-per-view, and then it's up to you. If you can sell a fight, you know, and you're going to have a lot of pay-per-view buys, then you're going to make more money. You know, sometimes the lightweights are complaining, and they say, yeah, but some lightweights, they simply don't pull in the pay-per-view numbers. You know, if they pull in 200,000 pay-per-view numbers compared to Cormier and Jones, they're going to probably go over 1 million in January because of the whole thing that happened before. You see, those guys are making money, and the other guys just making less. Now, and I'm not going to say you're going to have to attack your opponent at the weigh-ins and all that stuff, but I say that you have to sell the fight. You have to start doing something that people are going to be interested to watch that fight. You know, to say, oh my God, these guys have bad blood, or you know, whatever angle you can find, you know, and hopefully it's a real angle, like John Jones and Cormier, you know, then people will tune in. So it kind of depends on the fighters, you know, and if they don't pull it in, yeah, that's too bad. Then hopefully the money is going to rise, the basic money. But I believe they all have about, I don't know what it is. I think it's about $250,000 basic money, and some maybe have $500,000 like a Jones. I think I never looked into that, but everybody really makes their money with the pay-per-view buys. Fighters get underpaid, of course. I always say that, you know, and I will always say that until everybody starts making really good money, because there's still fighters that, you know, they simply can't live from the money that they make, you know, and then they need to fight at least 4 times a year, which is also not going to happen, you know. So if you only have like 2 fights and you're a beginning fighter, you make, 10 and 10 or something, even less. Well, good luck with that. It's $40,000 a year. I don't know if people know what the training costs.
Yeah.
And getting good people in and paying your management and paying your trainer, boom, that's 20% gone right there. You know, so now it's only $32,000 from $40,000. Oh, well, the taxes are going to come. Okay, you can write some things off. You see, but you can't live on that. So most of the time, that money comes also from sponsors. You know, the sponsor deal actually from Reebok that's coming up, that sounds really promising to me. You know, $70 million, that all that money is going to be spread out among the fighters. Of course, some fighters get more because they're more popular. You know, they have this popularity scale. I don't know how to call it different. And that's how, you know, they're going to see this guy get so much, that guy gets so much. But it's a lot of money, $70 million, and spread out over, I don't know how many fighters they have, 700 or something. It's still a lot of money.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's definitely interesting, and we can't wait to see you and Kenny Rice chat about it on Inside MMA, especially once you've looked into it a little bit further. Now, Bas, before we do the tap out round and finish up with you, just quickly, we wanted to ask you. Obviously, Bas Rutten interview wouldn't be complete without a pride story. We were just wondering, seeing as he'll be fighting Nick Diaz, do you have any Anderson Silva pride stories?
Anderson Silva pride stories. No, pretty much. It's the only thing that I one time, but it's not a fun. Anderson is a lay low guy, you know,
Yeah.
nice, relaxed, and a calm guy. So it's very hard to find crazy stories about him. But he, the only thing I can remember is that when I looked one time at my window from my hotel room, looked out on the tennis court in the hotel, the Hilton in Japan, and I saw him with I believe with an what is it, the tennis ball. That was the only thing he was doing, moving around with the tennis ball, like a what is it?
Like shadow
like
boxing?
Basketball, like a basketball, but then with the tennis ball. He was footwork, constantly moving, jumping around, and he did a lot of crazy movement. And that's pretty much the only thing that when I saw him train that he did different than other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not like when we're going to sit down with other fighters and we have crazy jokes in the morning at breakfast at 5 a.m. because everybody's awake because of the jet lag. And, and people, and then the table with 4 people becomes a table with 15 or 20 guys, and everybody's cracking jokes and doing stand-up. It's hilarious, that's all. But Anderson is a really lay-low guy, that's why.
Well,
yeah.
Sorry, you go, Dennis.
Sorry, Cass. Yeah, we were going to say we were speaking to Enzo Gracie on the show a few weeks back, and he told us a pretty funny story about how Dennis Hallman and Don Frye got into a fight, and you tried to break it up and accidentally got kicked in the head. Something like that.
Yeah, I thought somebody pushed me. I push him away, and suddenly I fall on the ground. So I get up and say, who pushed me? And Enzo shouted, he said, "You got kicked in the head, dude, from the back." And I go, "Really?" Yeah, that was crazy. Enzo always said, when a fight breaks out to 2 fighters, I sit back and I want to see the fight. But I knew Don, and Don had a little bit been drinking, and it just for nothing, I mean, the stuff they said, it was the craziest thing. It went from nothing to really crazy in a blink of an eye. He's going to rip his hand up, shit his neck, and then the other one was going to sexually attack the other wife. That's what he said. I'm not going to say who said who, but I mean, it was something like, whoa, where did that come from, And then right away they both got up, and Dennis tried to take him down. He pushed him away, and I jumped in the middle. I said, "Come on, guys, let's, we're here in a hotel." Otherwise everybody's going to say again, "See, these crazy guys, they're just a bunch of cage fighters or criminals," So I tried to slow it down, and then I think that Dennis decided to kick Don Frye in the head, but I was standing in between it apparently, so he kicked me from the back to the side of my head. But I literally, like I said, I thought he pushed me because I lost my balance. I go, "Hey, somebody pushed me," and then I got back up. But that's when it stopped also. So actually, it helped.
Yeah.
And if Bas Rutten getting kicked in the head helps to prevent a fight, well, so be it.
Oh, man. Dennis needs to work on his accuracy. He needs to work with Anderson Silva. All right, Bas, we're going to do the submission rated tap-out round. I think you know the drill by now. A whole bunch of fun questions or quick questions, and you answer with the first thing that comes to your mind. You ready?
All right.
All right, Bas Rutten, New Year's resolution. What have you got?
Working on myself now. Just I'm focusing. I want to rebuild. I want to be better, stronger, fast, just like the $6 million man.
Yeah.
You have so many awesome stories, Bas. When are we going to see a Bas Rutten biography come out?
When my youngest daughter turns like 20 years old, maybe 18, then I will start thinking about it. Because the stories in there right now that I want to say, but I can't write in there because otherwise my daughters are going to say, "But you did it, Daddy, so why can't I do it?"
Yeah. That makes sense. Now, give us your favorite guest from 2014 on Inside MMA.
Oh man, that's always hard. Enzo Gracie popped up last time. He's a really close friend of mine. He came the day before he was fighting Sakuraba.
Yeah.
And the day before, I mean, what other guy does that? Goes to the studio and then sits with us for like an hour and a half. So I thought that was pretty amazing. But we have had really good guests last year. Very hard to pick one.
Yeah, he's definitely an awesome guy to interview. Now, this one I'm going to preface with the fact that My most memorable Christmas present was a long time ago when I was young. I was supposed to get a Lego police station, but instead I got a Nintendo 64 set, and that took my life by storm. What was your most memorable Christmas present received, Bas? What's something from your childhood that you remember? It just blows your mind.
You know what a radio controlled car. I remember that I wanted it so bad, and I've been asking for it so many times, and I got it. And my parents said I played with it for like a week, and that was it. I realized, it doesn't do anything more. Oh, okay, whatever. So, but it's still in my memory.
Awesome. Now, Bas, real or plastic Christmas tree in the Rutten household?
A real one.
What is the best Christmas movie ever? What's the best Christmas movie? You were watching TV when we first gave you a call. What goes on in the Bas Rutten household when Christmas time comes on? What's a good Christmas movie?
A Christmas Christmas story, or just a Christmas time, a great Christmas time. It's just doing nothing and being with the kids and having a great meal. You know that I'll make myself and my wife will cook together. And then just sitting there and telling stories, and maybe even play a game. Like I'm playing Monopoly right now with my youngest daughter, and that's kind of fun because I didn't do that for a long time. It's all changed now. Now you do it with credit cards, and you can charge those credit cards with millions of dollars.
That's awesome. Now, Bas, you do acting, you do movies. Why haven't we seen Bas Rutten in The Expendables yet? Seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah, I don't know. I heard that from Mickey Rourke told me that they wanted me in the number one. The one that Stone Cold had, that part.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen. And then after that, I never heard anything. So, but it's okay. I worked on the Here Comes the Boom, and I did some other flicks afterwards. Mall Cop 2 is going to come out in April.
Oh, awesome.
Well, now that you're healthy and you can start doing stunts again, I think there's a good chance they'll call you up. Now, you spoke about, the exciting fights like Daniel Cormier versus John Jones coming up January 3rd. Tell us, what's the fight that you're most excited about in 2015? I mean, there's so many awesome fights set up at the moment.
The ones that are set up at the moment. Well, you got to give me a little bit of a thing here. Cormier, of course, Jones. Then I want to see Anderson Silva versus Diaz. I really think that's going to be a great fight. My God, the UFC has so many shows on. What this weekend coming up, right? Holloway of CJ Dolloway against Machida. That could be a really fun fight.
Yep.
To watch. So let me see. We got more McGregor versus Seaver. I just want to see McGregor win, man. That's and Seaver, I like Seaver a lot, but Conor McGregor being so outgoing and then backing up what he's doing and have this great talk. I love it the way he talks about Ireland. It's we're not here to what does he say? We're not here to partake. We're here to take over.
Yeah.
I go, oh man, that's so cool. Gustafsson versus Johnson. I think that's going to be a great fight. Two great strikers. Gustafsson though tricked Jones a few times with these crazy takedowns. And Whiteman Belfort.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a crazy fight. All these fights I would almost want to go to because I think it's going to be hard. And Whiteman Belfort actually is the Staples Center here in Los Angeles, so that's right next door where we filmed Inside MMA. So I might go to that one.
Awesome. We might see the camera shoot over to Bas Rutten. Finally, Bas, last question. We know that you were a chef and you've been known to cook up amazing spread. Tell us, what's on the menu for Bas Rutten's Christmas feast this year? And also, can you mail us some leftovers to Australia?
I don't know. Most of the time, I'll take my time. Now, especially when I'm home for a bit, I'm probably going to make a really good soup, like a really good bouillon that I make with some meat in it and everything in there. But just keep it simple. But a really good one that I'm going to make over 3 days. Boil it down, add stuff. Boil it down, all the time. So making a really good one. Then probably something with fish. I always do as an appetizer, so to say. Still, with maybe as a bechamel sauce. I really like to make that. It's a warm sauce you make with egg yolks and a liquor and with sugar, and you make that and you fluff that up on the stove. You have to watch out that you don't bake it because with eggs, you can bake it. So you have to really watch out. Most of the time you can also do it. Au bain marie is what they call it. It's in the hot water. You can put the pan in the hot water and do it like that. And that goes over like vanilla ice cream. Put a nice warm sauce. It's a really sweet, special kind of sauce that you don't see a lot here. Don't get a lot, but it's really good. And then put it warm sauce over simple vanilla ice cream. I think that will be it. And then wrap it up with a cigar and amaretto, a glass of amaretto. At the end. You know, that will be really good too. It's the other one. What do they make from the grapes? Not wine, because I would know that. But from the pits of grapes. I forget the name. The Italians do that. I forget the name. It's just shooting a blank right now. But it's a really nice liquor for after dinner also. It's good for your digestive system. So it's like probably 1, 2, 3, 4 course meal that I do, and then at the end maybe together with a nice glass of wine, maybe a white wine with the fish and a red wine with the meat, and then at the end we'll probably drink an amaretto or a port, and then smoke a cigar, sitting outside, put the heating lamp on because it's colder here now, and then watch TV with the cigar. That will be the perfect evening.
I think we just helped you plan your Christmas, and by help I mean like we asked you the question, and now you know what you're gonna do. So it sounds like you're gonna.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Yeah, you've got the like visualization now. So it sounds like you're gonna end 2014 in a really good way. Bas, once again, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. We definitely hope that you're feeling good, feeling healthy, and I'll definitely chat to you soon. And of course, guys, don't forget to follow Bas on Twitter. I believe his Twitter handle is Bas Rutten. Is that correct?
Yep, MMA.
Bas Rutten MMA. Bas Rutten MMA. And of course, don't forget to check him out Inside MMA next year when they come back. It's always a pleasure having you on the show, Bas.
Thank you very much. And also next week, actually, I believe it's the 25th to the 27th, we have the Bozzy Awards, which are the awards that go to the best fighter, best female fighter, best male fighter, best knockout, best knockout with kick, best submission, all that kind of stuff. That's a fun show. We recorded that. And then the New Year's show, everything that happened over the last year, we have that, I believe, on the 2nd of January.
Oh, sick.
On Inside MMA. So will we be there? We will be there, but just with the Bozzy Award show and the Best of the Year show.
Awesome. Well, we love compilations and we love best of, so definitely check that out, guys. Once again, Bas, thanks so much for coming on the show, and we look forward to speaking to you soon.
Sounds good. Godspeed. Party on. Happy holidays, everybody.